Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's James here, and I'm joined by James Ronan, one of my friends in the Jurassic Park community. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah.
Would you like to tell everybody basically what you do as almost like a career and how you got into the Jurassic community quickly?
So currently I'm a student paleontologist. So I'm studying an MSc in paleontology at the University of Bristol. And I got involved in the Jurassic community a couple of years ago. I've been doing some articles for the Jurassic Park podcast and been a long time fan of the franchise. So been sort of getting the Jurassic community involved.
Yeah, and you were one of our contestants on the Jurassic Park pop quiz, weren't you? Back a year or two ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago now, but yeah, that was really great. Really enjoyed that
Yeah, it
coming
was.
on the pop quiz.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to do. It was good to have. It's just good to have other people, especially from Britain, because a lot of the fans on the Jurassic Park podcast are from America as well. So it is hard for us to sort of get the people to do the phone call because of the time difference. So it was good to have another Brit on. So we
Yeah.
could just schedule it whenever. Okay, so the topic for today is really random. James, I've completely thrown here in the deep end because we were previously doing a podcast on the missing compies and I've just kind of thrown this at him. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about two dinosaurs that we would like to see in Jurassic World Dominion. It can be it could be something that we've previously seen that you want to see again, something that we've seen quite a lot of, and this is the reason why you want to see it purely because you've just got a love for that dinosaur. Or James could possibly use his scientific background and talk about a dinosaur that maybe he's come across in his field that he might like to see. By some miracle, it might get shown to some level of degree by ILM. But yeah, so I'm going to get the ball rolling. I was a huge fan of the movie, the little short film, Battle of Big Rock, and the Allosaurus that was portrayed in that one. Obviously, a lot more so than the one that was portrayed in Fallen Kingdom. But I liked a lot of it. I liked the design. I also liked the fact that it was overly. It was a bit bigger than it should have been for an Allosaurus, but if you're looking at the species Allosaurus maximus, is it called? The Saurophaganax, it was probably the size of the Allosaurus that we see in Battle of Big Rock, and it would be classed as an apex predator and would be one of the big guys that we see. You know, it could come up against a Rex or a large Carnotaurus and, you know, do some major damage, that thing. And the design aspect with the wrists facing inwards was something that I instantly noticed straight away. Because the first thing prior to Battle at Big Rock that I saw was all the stuff that was floating around on social media, which was the designs that they'd seen, like the renders and the toys that they released too early that gave away that there's going to be another Allosaurus versus the Nasutoceratops in this short film. So everyone was like, oh, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like? And when we see that thing coming out of the dark with its wrists facing inwards, it was just so good. So that's one animal I would love to see again in Dominion playing a very big part, or at least a good amount of screen time to sort of justify it and give it, you know, a bit of respect that I think it deserves more than an 8-minute short. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the Allosaurus is definitely a dinosaur I'd want to see more of. I think we didn't really get much screen time of it in Battle at Big Rock, did we? It was a very short film, and that design was so much better than the one we've got in Fallen Kingdom. So I want to see more of that. I want to see, I suppose, more sort of interactions with humans. Have that Allosaurus. It's been a bit battered now, having been attacked with the crossbow, but just sort of see sort of where that Allosaurus turns out to be and sort of where it's living, and just who sort of comes across it. I think that could be quite interesting to see.
We didn't, due to the lighting in the film that was shot, we didn't quite see the coloration of it. Now, do you think that was a female, or do you think that was a male?
I don't know. It's difficult to say because in Fallen Kingdom, I don't think it's discussed. I think it's like they
No.
just say it's a juvenile Allosaurus. It's supposed. I think Colin said a while ago it was supposed to be the same one that had
Okay.
grown up. I don't think it was supposed to be sort of a different one. It was supposed to have sort of developed more as an adult. So that's why there's sort of differences in how it looks. But I'm not sure whether it's a male or female.
Yeah, would you? Because obviously, when you look at the one in Fallen Kingdom, it had the red horns. Now, to me, obviously, and probably you yourself, like the stuff you study, colours necessarily would lean towards males more than females to attract the mate. But the one in battle didn't really show that much coloration, so it could have been a lighting issue. But I would like to think that if we saw this in a bit more of a broader daylight, you would see the red horns, because that would look really cool on that creature, I think.
Yeah. I think the design was just so much better anyway. I mean, it looked quite muscly. It was definitely beefier. And I think just the way it was sort of... It was nice to see a different dinosaur other than the T-Rex or, the predators that we've previously seen throughout the franchise.
Yeah, and look good.
And look good, yeah. And I mean, straight away you knew it was sort of an Allosaurus, like coming in like through that scene. And I think it's just one of those dinosaurs that I would like to see more of, because we haven't really seen those sort of like medium-sized carnivores throughout the franchise, really. You've always had the raptors, and the Dilophosaurus has been quite small, and we've never had that intermediary between like the T-Rex and sort of the raptors, like something sort of a medium-sized carnivore. So
yeah, but the Carnotaurus would probably fit into perfectly if it had a major role plot in it, wouldn't it? Like like that Carnotaurus was shot so beautifully as well in Fallen Kingdom.
I love that design of that Carnotaurus as well. Just like the red coloration was brilliant. Yeah,
it's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, in the perfect world, being such a big Jurassic fan, I would love it to have the camouflage ability. But I know we've kind of seen that with the Indominus now, so I don't think they'll go that way, and it will be the animal that we see. But just seeing that the red and black blotches, it just looks so cool. It made it look so much more menacing than it was. Now I've only given myself two choices. I've kind of screwed myself over a little bit here, because the Carnotaurus is definitely another animal I would like to see see in the next film. But I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna ask. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna shift put you in the deep end and give you, because you've kind of shared my one a little bit. But is there one in particular that you definitely would like to see?
To be honest, it is my favourite hadrosaur, and I'd love to see it in the films, just because it was supposed to be in the park in Jurassic World, and that's the Edmontosaurus.
Okay.
And my main reason for it is not just because it's my favourite dinosaur, but I absolutely love the design that was on the Jurassic World website. And we haven't seen it in the films, and I was quite disappointed that we never got to see it.
We've not, have we? We've seen so many duck-billed style dinosaurs, but we've never ever seen a hadrosaurus or a myosaurus or an iguanodon or one of these, beaked, no-crested, plain animals that, one, we've got a lot of fossil evidence on. Jack Horner particularly, I know that's a bit of a elephant in the room, but he's done a lot of work on Myosaurus, and Iguanodon is from the UK and really well discovered over here, isn't
well
it?
Discovered, yeah. So, I mean, Iguanodon would be another prime one to sort of see, because we've seen the Baryonyx. Obviously, that's a UK dinosaur, European dinosaur. So I think Iguanodon actually probably would have been another good one to see. Yeah. Just something a little bit different, because obviously we've had Parasaurolophus and Coryphosaurus and whatnot. We've seen the ones with sort of crests, but we haven't really seen many of the doubles. I think in the novel, I can't remember now if it's Myosaura or...
It is, yeah.
I think it's Myosaura in the novel, isn't it?
Myosaurus, yeah. The T-Rex kills a Myosaurus.
See, I would love a scene in Dominion where you have like a little...
Sorry. It's not... Is it? So, you'd think I'd know, because I've bloody done the audiobook. I know there's hadrosaurs. Is that a common term describing them? Or... Yeah,
I mean, there's Hadrosaurus, which was a hadrosaur, but I mean, I think Myosaura turned up in one of the novels.
I think it might be.
Yeah. But I know, I would love to see... I don't know how they could explain it, because we haven't seen it in the films anyway, but I just have this vision in my head of a scene of a 5-year-old kid looking out the window, and there's like a low-hanging tree branch, and there's like this Edmontosaurus just nipping at the branches, and then it just turns to the kid and sort of looks at it with like the whole sort of cattle stare that they give in the novel, because it's sort of like when I think it's like when Lex, Tim, and Alan are on the tree branch and they're sort of looking at it.
Yeah,
I would just love like a scene like that where we get like a little bit when the kid like maybe puts its hand out to try and reach it or something like that. I think that'd be so cool to see.
Yeah, no, that's a good. They're quite big, aren't they, Edmontosaurus?
Yeah, I mean,
like an adult.
About 30 feet long. Yeah,
that's,
I mean, pretty huge.
That's one big animal.
It's massive. It is one big animal. Yeah,
that's an elephant walking around.
It is. Yeah, bigger than an elephant.
Well, in length, I guess it is. But I'm talking about in size and
in terms of size.
Stature, yeah. Wow. Okay. So that would be some sight to see, wouldn't it? What design would you go for? Would you go for this coloration that you see in like on the Jurassic World viral website that we saw in Jurassic World Evolution as well?
I would do. Yeah, I mean, obviously I know in Evolution they added the crest comb in, which had been recently found, I think, in like 2014. And so at the time they didn't think that they actually had it, and they think it might have been used for display in terms of.
Do you think that was sexual dimorphism?
Sexual dimorphism. Yeah. So I suppose there's that one, and also I suppose it's not a dinosaur, but I would like to see the Dinosuchus turn up, primarily because it was supposed to be in Fallen Kingdom.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? In the background when Owen was walking.
It was, yeah. And when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, that would have been actually really cool to see. It would have made Jurassic a bit more interesting having a big crocodilian in there, because we haven't had that throughout the franchise.
No, it's in the Lost World video game that was made for the arcade. Do you remember one of them levels?
I think I might do. It's been ages since
you're on a decking, like a docks decking, like a jetty sort of thing that you tie boats up to, and the croc attacked you on the jetty.
Right,
that was the level. And it had a big Dinosuchus in that.
Yeah.
The only problem I think with having a Dinosuchus is that you would then have to somehow canonise it, and you're asking more questions. I'd love to see a giant croc in this. It'd be brilliant.
I think they've kind of. I mean, I think it's part of the Indominus's DNA in terms of the teeth. I think, but I mean, I'm not. I wish they'd left that scene in with him going past the skeleton in Fallen Kingdom, because at least then it shows us that they were creating other animals. We know about the dinosaurs and stuff, and the pterosaurs and everything. But it would have been nice to, and obviously the Mosasaurus. But it would have been nice to have seen like, oh, that's a massive crocodile. Like, what's the story behind that, and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, Colin could bring it in.
Do you know
any way he wanted to? He?
Do you know a good way to bring that in? I know it's already probably been done, and I'd say is completed. Is Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, I mean, they probably would. I mean, that would be a prime example to like bring it in, really, wouldn't it? Because I mean, we already know as well. It's on the Jurassic World in the Innovation Centre. It's like on the board telling you about all the animals that are in the park. It's supposed to be is it like a plesiosaurus that's supposed to be in the park as well?
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that, so we know there's a Mosasaurus, but it's supposed to be a plesiosaurus as well. And there's also Spinosaurus is on there as well, so it's supposed to be on the island. So.
That'd be this is the thing. This is where I was having a conversation with Jack Ewins about this, who's, for those that don't know, is a canon consultant. We actually spoke about this briefly on the previous thing I did, the podcast I did with Jack with the Spinosaurus. He's left it open, so you can interpret how you want to interpret it. So it doesn't say that it's extinct, but it doesn't actually say it's brought over to the island. You just have to either assume one or the other. Now your headcanon can do either or, and it still works. Now if you bring it over, then there's no reason to say it wasn't left on the island to just starve and abandoned. If there's many questions with the Spinosaurus. It could go for ages. That are we going to get a more scientific one, or are we going to get the one that we know? Because that would be the easiest option, because that's what the fans would probably want. Paleontology fans probably won't, but the Spinosaurus Jurassic Park 3 generation probably would want to see their dinosaur back. I would love to see that again. But the only thing I'll be worried about is because it's fan service, it wouldn't be plausibly written in. That is the only problem I have with a Spino.
Are we talking about like Camp Cretaceous here or Dominion?
I've kind of segued in Dominion, but I didn't mean to do that.
Right.
I think Camp Cretaceous has a lot more leeway. I think there's an area there where they could expose it in that storyline because it's set during Jurassic World when the park's operational, and there's so much of that park that we didn't see that people could argue. They can't argue against it because we haven't seen it, so we don't know it doesn't exist. And on the Jurassic World viral website, they specifically say that it's one of the creatures that's in the park. So there's no reason, and there's a sign inside the innovation center, isn't there?
Yeah.
So Camp Cretaceous for me is where I think if they're going to bring it back, we'll get away with bringing it back.
See, I'm so looking forward to seeing other parts of the park that we didn't see in Jurassic World.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There were so many attractions that we didn't see, and like there was like cable cars and everything on the island, and we just never saw that. So I'm hoping we get to see some of that.
Do you know one of my favourite concept arts that we never got to see was the Brachiosaurus feeding?
The treetop grazers, like that attraction.
How amazing would that be?
Oh, it was so good. Yeah. I mean, it did.
That's like a perfect attraction, isn't it?
That was literally like JP of Grant giving the branch out to the Brachie, but like done as a proper attraction. It's just, I thought it was a really inspired sort of piece of concept art. That.
Yeah, and it's just a visual like masterpiece if that was done. It's one of my all-time favourite scenes in Jurassic Park. Full stop. That whole sunset, dusk sort of setting. It's just amazing. I love it. We've kind of gone off on a tangent, but we're going to go back to how we would possibly see. So you would go for the Edmontosaurus as a herbivore in Dominion. Now, okay, so what way would you maybe see this introduced? Being an option, being on the boat we didn't know about, or
I would actually go for a bit of a Jurassic World live tour approach, because from what I get, I haven't seen the show, but from what I gather, they introduced a new InGen facility, I think, which is in Peru or Chile or somewhere.
Right, yeah.
So I would go down that route in the sense of either have InGen do it off the island at another facility, or introduce it from a rival genetics company make it. Okay. But they make their own version, so it would look different to the Jurassic World one. But it could be like a different coloration or whatever. That's how I would go about introducing it.
Yeah, the thing is with these sort of dinosaurs is you want them to be recognisable, don't you? Like you don't want to not know what that animal is when you see it on screen. So something like that. There's got to be something. Like the iguanodon, because of
you're going to know from the thumb spikes and I mean,
and with that, if they did go over that colour scheme, we'd all know, and we'd be like, oh my god, because you'd know. But then, like you said, if they didn't use the colour scheme because it was another company that made it, I suppose if it only needs a bit of dialogue, I suppose to sort of.
I mean, you'd only need someone to tell you what it is, really. Yeah. I mean, they have that line. I know it was a bit contentious, the whole kids knowing what the dinosaurs were in Battle of Big Rock, but you could have like a throwaway line in the film in Dominion saying what this dinosaur is or whatever. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the hadrosaurs that we've seen, we haven't really seen much, I would say much variation in terms of the ones that we've seen throughout the franchises, really. Yeah. Because it's just been all Parasaurolophus and Coryphosaurus, and we've just seen a lot of hadrosaurs with crests, and which has been nice, but at the same time we haven't seen.
But for 5 movies, you want to see something different.
We haven't really seen like the parental instincts, have we? It would be nice to see like a family comes across like some hadrosaurs that have laid a nest and that they're looking after them. It'd just be nice to see some sort of interaction.
Yeah, a bit like we see in the Disney's dinosaur film. When the Carnotauruses come in and they defend as a unit to sort of fend to get away, and I'd love to see that animalistic nature come in and show them to be animals rather than just fan service visual effects.
Yeah, this is the thing. I like the fact that in Jurassic World we did get scenes where we saw behaviours, like in the scene when the gyrosphere with Zack and Gray are like entering through the restricted area.
Yeah.
In the background, you see like the parasaurs and they're vocalizing against each other, and it looks like it's like a territorial dispute, and it's really interesting. But it's so brief. You've got to really look out for it.
It's subtle, and you do notice it, but it's not noticeable to people unless you've watched the movie more than once.
Yeah.
Like me and you have watched it too many times you can't even count your hands. So things like that, you notice something new every time, and it makes you even more in love with the film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the other things about the hadrosaurs was the Parasaurolophus in the Innovation Centre when you see the hologram.
Yeah.
That creature is literally a deer. That is a deer. That is a deer grazing, and I don't know what they use for it, the motion capture or something they use to get the realism of that animal eating, grazing, flicking its eyes, twitching, staring at different places, sharp movements. It's so believable to be an actual animal, and it didn't have that manufactured look that a lot of the Winston sort of designed animals look. I know it was based on a Winston animal, but it's got something different about it to make it look a bit more animalistically real. I can't explain what I mean, but it's to do with the movements and the subtle...
is, yeah. I think the fact that those hologram sequences are so clever because it just not only shows you the size, but it also shows you sort of certain behaviours, like even in those brief sequences.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure in terms of Dominion whether we're going to see any more. I know there were some parasaurs that were in there, weren't there, in the ones that escaped.
Yeah. I would like to see some other dinosaurs. I think if we get anything introduced, it would be one from the past that we know, which is probably my next choice, and maybe feathers will get introduced, maybe from a different company.
I mean, I'm all for feathers if it's like a different company, also for like different types of dinosaur in terms of sort of paleo accuracy.
I wouldn't want to see any retconning whatsoever.
Yeah, as long as there's no retconning. But I mean, you're not retconning it by having another company doing their own version of a dinosaur.
No, of course not.
So I'm all for that. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Steve Brasati brings to the franchise because he's the new paleontological advisor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in terms of sort of his input.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And I already like what I can't remember the name of the guy that Clayton Fioriti interviewed with the Allosaurus. I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name either.
He consulted on the Battle of Big Rock, and he's the one in and redesigned the Allosaurus because he couldn't bear the one in Fallen Kingdom because it was so unlike an Allosaurus. And he come across some of the stuff like that. He was saying the idea was, so obviously we know it's not paleontologically accurate, but it is a massive step up to what we had. So going forward, this the new paleontology consultant, what he's going to bring to the table, hopefully, will be spectacular. So we'll get some more in-facing wrists that we've all been craving for 5 films.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's your first choice. Okay, my second choice, my final choice, is going to be the Dilophosaurus. Now, I know this animal is probably the furthest away from being paleontologically accurate as you can get in terms of a design, but the only thing that isn't accurate about this animal, based on the novel, is the frill. So I'm happy, or maybe actually the size as well. The size and the frill, the behaviour of the animal is identical. So I'm happy for this animal to come back. I'd love to see it again. I'm within the team of it being what we saw in Jurassic Park is the Dilophosaurus. Not a small version, not a juvenile. To me, that is the animal that they chose to do, because they didn't want something that was the same size as a Velociraptor. They wanted something smaller, and they also wanted something not as big as a Rex that would class as another big predator. They wanted something different. So that was the design they went for, to me. So I'm happy with it being that size. However, if they do want to introduce a full-sized Dilophosaurus that could spit 50 feet because of the size of it, I would be quite happy and open to that as well. I'd want it to be explained. I wouldn't want them to just sort of throw it in there like we're just supposed to believe this is how big it was all the time. And I don't know how it would get introduced. I think we are due it to be introduced because it's such a huge fan favourite. Not to everybody. I know certain people that don't like it, but that's more for the design aspect and it not being like its real counterpart. But for movie continuity, I'd love to see it again. And I think it's just something really cool about that animal that we see in the movie. And I don't know how you feel about the Dilo. What version you would like to see, if see anything?
I just want it back full stop, to be honest. In terms of the version, I mean, I know in Jurassic World we got the hologram, and that was a full kind of size. It's sized up to the Raptor, pretty sort of near enough matched it in terms of size.
Yeah.
And all those holograms seem to be sort of life size anyway, so it kind of hinted that it might be a bigger version.
That's just the adult there, right there.
Yeah. So I mean, I reckon it probably will come back in Dominion, because they did hint at it in Fallen Kingdom, and there were so many fans that wanted it back in that film, and we just got a noise and a little bit of a brush in the ferns or whatever, and didn't get to see it. So I think it's definitely due to make a return. In terms of how it looks, I suppose it goes down to, I mean, I suppose if it is a Jurassic World version, I would expect it to sort of follow what we've seen already.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind seeing a more paleontologically accurate version if it was another company that made it.
By a riverbed.
Maybe one with like a shorter frill, or maybe no frill at all.
Yeah. I'm happy. I like the look of the design without the frill.
Yeah.
To be honest, like the long slender neck.
Yeah, I mean the Crash McCreary artwork for the original Jurassic Park is just phenomenal. Like, you just get that snake-like neck, and I mean the animatronic did sort of replicate that quite a bit. But I'd like to see the Dilophosaurus back, because it's been so long since we've seen it. We didn't see it in JP3 at all, or the Lost World.
No.
And we did see it in the Lost World on a computer screen, but that was it. So I think it is overdue to make a return.
It is, and I think I know Colin knows this though. I know that he knows that the fans want it, and it's not unlike him to sort of give us something. A noise effect isn't enough for me, and a hologram. I want to literally see a physical, well, not physical, but an animal on screen at least for some point in the movie. Even if it gets killed, I don't care. I just want to see it. I just want to see it again.
I think the problem is with that particular animal is it's going to have to be PG, and that's the problem. I feel like if I wanted to see it, I would want to see quite a brutal death, more akin to sort of something that like happened to Nedry in the novel.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether Dominion is going to be the best place to bring that kind of angle in. And I don't think we're going to get those types of angles anyway currently in the franchise as it stands. So I don't really know. Like, I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't know how they would sort of. It would have to mimic the same type of death in a way as Nedry. Like, it can't be anything more than that death, really, because I feel like it's going to be pushing it in terms of, because the franchise is a family franchise, really.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean by that. But to be honest, even if it gets killed, I'll be happy with that. Just to see it,
just to see it like run on screen, and just to see it like just roar or something. Yeah, make a squeal or something and move out of the way.
Can you imagine seeing like we're seeing it from a third person perspective of the Dilo and the say a raptor, like that's kind of foreshadowed in that little diorama in Fallen Kingdom, that they're like facing off, and you see it like almost like a Jurassic World evolution. You know, you have to the camera, you can watch it, and you can see it, and you see the spit go at the raptor, and they have like a scuffle and a fight, but the raptor say wins, or I don't know, something like that. So that'd be pretty awesome. But that's my second choice. I'd love to see the Dilo make another appearance, and that's my final choice. What about you? It's hard for you because you want the same ones as me, don't you?
It is hard for me. I don't really know, actually. Like, just sort of thinking in terms of the dinosaurs that we've already seen.
Is there any... Okay. Is there any dinosaurs type scenes that you would like to see, or one scene that you'd like to see that we haven't seen? Something maybe that's referenced in the novel.
See, I think it comes back to that the Triceratops scene that was cut, which was the baby Triceratops with Lex riding it, and I think that was supposed to be in the film. In the first film, I think it is in the. She doesn't ride it in the novel. Like, I think she calls it Ralph or something. And
she feeds
gives it hay, and feeds it. But a similar scene to that would be quite cool to see. Just again, I suppose with another child, like I said earlier,
a kid interacting.
Just to have that human interaction, and maybe the parents just sort of let their kid wander off, and then it finds this little Triceratops and. Maybe it's like asleep or something, and then the kid climbs up on it and not knowing what it is, and then the animal moves and runs off, and the kid's stuck on the top or whatever. It'd be a bit comedic, I suppose, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how you would film that really,
incorporate
but just to have.
I think maybe the only way that would possibly work is if there's almost like a family group maybe are out for a walk. And there's a herd of a bit. I guess, like, you know how Sarah approaches the stego, baby stego.
Yeah, the baby stego. Yeah.
And we get a similar sort of scene, and a kid approaches the baby, interacts with the baby, and then the parents react, and then we've got a big dangerous situation on our hands. But that's one thing I'd like to see, actually, a herbivore being dangerous.
I want to see a herbivore stampede, definitely. Like, I think
be a dangerous animal, like an elephant when it loses its right. It's one scary animal.
I mean, like, we only got in the Gyrosphere Valley, we see all the animals moving together, but then they've like been living in that environment for a while. Like, I'd like to see some hadrosaurs or even like ceratopsians get spooked and they just like go crazy and just cause a bit of mayhem.
Tear down like a whole village somehow or something.
Maybe like a little bit of a forest area or something. It just like that'd
be pretty awesome. I'd love that. Okay, so coming to a closure, and let's just do a quick recap. So we've picked 3 animals and a situation. The 3 animals we'd like to see is a continuation of the Allosaurus that we saw in Battle at Big Rock. We'd like to see the Dilophosaurus brought back for Dominion as well, and you would like to see the Edmontosaurus brought into the more like the Jurassic World live tour almost, because you think it'd be a bit more plausible. Although it could also be used in Camp Cretaceous.
Could be,
along with the Spinosaurus.
Could be put in there. Yeah, definitely.
And because the idea of that kid looking out the window, seeing the hadrosaur eating from the trees, sounds like it's very Jurassic. Really, that's a really great visual in my imagination, in my mind, from a creative standpoint. So I'd like to see that. And a scene that you'd like to see is a herbivore doing like some sort of stampede in a rural, an urban environment would be pretty cool. Yeah,
I mean, something very akin to sort of like the first Jumanji, when all the animals are just going riot through the streets. I mean, that'd be quite cool to see. I know Colin has said that, he doesn't want dinosaurs in big cities, and that's fine. I don't expect that at all anyway, like, for the franchise, but it'd be nice to see some herbivores just go on a bit of a rampage, maybe through a small town or something, like just through like a small, or a suburb or something, where there's quite a few people about or whatever, and they come across them and they go a bit crazy.
Yeah, but guys, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section. What would you like to see, if you could pick 2 dinosaurs to be in Jurassic World Dominion and 2 different dinosaurs you haven't seen for a while or you haven't seen at all in the Camp Cretaceous? Actually, that would be quite a good one. Name both and describe and put which one you'd prefer in what film and what series. And it'd be interesting for us to sort of read back and find out what everyone's thoughts are. James, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you if they want to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at JurassicJames1, but you can also contact me on my blog page, which is JurassicFindsBlog.com. But yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter, so if you just drop me a message or whatever, then yeah, you can chat to me.
Yeah, if you're interested in paleontology, James is definitely the guy on the community side, the go-to, because it's something he does as almost as it's a career that he wants to get into professionally. He's a student of it, and his knowledge is obviously a lot better than ones that haven't gone to uni and studied it for so long.
Yeah.
So you should go to, if you've got anything paleontologically you'd like to ask him. And yeah, but it's been a pleasure having you on, mate. Good to speak to you again.
Yeah, thanks, James. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And like the video, it helps us out a lot. And only one thing left to say, mate. Life will find a way.
It will indeed.
See you later.